So let's take a look at how you can use PostgreSQL with SQL Server Management Studio. So if you go to PostgreSQL.org and download the installer, it will ask you to go to Enterprise DB website to download the installer. So it should look something like this, right? So let's run this, and within installation we are going to make sure that we have drivers that allows us to connect to Windows SQL Server Management Studio. So let's hope for this install to have those options, otherwise we will have to manually download the required drivers. So let's click next. Now here you see it shows C program files, PostgreSQL 14. You can change this to D if you want. So D program files, click next. Then here you see PostgreSQL Server pgadmin 4 stack builder. So this is what we need, stack builder. Then command line tools, click next. Then you have this data directory, click next. Here you can choose to give password, so I'm gonna give the password, right? Then click next. Here you see the port 5432, we are fine with that. Click next. You can use the default locale, which is going to be English. Now everything is set up. You can check the super user. Postgres is our super user, port is 5432, right, and the password that you have set up. Click next. It should install all the required files. If it needs admin permission, it will open that respective prompt as well. Okay, now once the installer finishes, we can click on this finish button. It should open stack builder, right? So let's see what it shows. Here you see if we need proxy, we can check for that. Here currently we have the installation which is listed here. Now we can click next. As you can see, proxy settings here, we can ignore that for now. Let's click next. Now it should show you a list of things that you can download. So let's go with database drivers. So here you see PSQL ODBC. Let's go with both of them. If you want JDBC driver and also the .NET driver, you can select these, right? Then you have database server. We already have the version we need, right? Then comes, let's say, extensions. Okay, if you have any GIS specific component, then you can download that, right? Then add-ons, here you see EDB language pack, we can ignore that, right? So this is what we need, drivers, and we are downloading all of them. Now click next, and the download directory is here, right? Then if you want any different specific directory, you can do so, right? So we can go with, let's say, D, then let's see program files, Postgres, and let's have download directory here. Select the folder. Now click next, and everything will be downloaded over there. Now it has 4 components. All of those will be downloaded and verified. Now at the end you can see all the installation files are now successfully downloaded. So now we can click next, and now we have our stack properly installed, and it will move to .NET 4.5 setup wizard. Here you see the respective driver will be installed. Now it will ask you to set up PSQL ODBC. Click next. Now again click next and let it install. Now it will also do it for 64-bit edition, so it must be one of the 32-bit. So let's wait for another one. Now that all the drivers are installed, you can click on finish and it will close. Okay, so the next step is to connect with SQL Server Management Studio with our connection strings in Postgres. Okay, so next thing, we are going to download this particular ODBC driver. So go to odbc.postgresql, click downloads page. Here you can go for MSI directory, check the date, go with the recent drivers. Here you see 64-bit and this 00 zip, and download them and execute the installer. Once you do that, you can go to ODBC within your control panel. Now here we are going to add the data source. Check for PostgreSQL Unicode, click finish. Now here you see the data source, right? And as you can see, it says PostgreSQL 35W, right? So what you can do is you can also type in pgadmin for if you want, or keep this as default. Now what we can do is let's test this with default. Then here you have database, which is going to be DVD renter, then server. You can go with localhost, or you can simply type in 127.0.0.1, then username, Postgres, port 5432 and password, and then test this connection. Connection successful, that means we are half done, right? Simply save this. Now we have it listed. Now the next thing, click OK and go to SQL Server Management Studio. Make sure to just use Windows authentication for now. Now here what we will do is we will go to our server objects, then we will check linked servers, providers, and here you see the list of available providers. Now let's add new link server, right? It should show you this big wizard where you can simply type in the link server. So here what we can do is we have to name this to our database, right? So here you see the database and then your data source. Then next is we have to check for ODBC source. So Microsoft provider for ODBC drivers, right? Then we are going to type in product name Postgres, and here we can simply go for data source as well, right? And here as we can see, we already had that data source within the list. As you can see, we'll configure it and simply type in PostgreSQL 35W. So let's go with that, PostgreSQL 35W. So hopefully I have everything correct. So let me just correct it. Okay, so SQL needs to be in uppercase, right? Then provide a string. We will see if we require that. Hopefully we should not, because this is something that we have, right? Then sub options. Then let's take a look at a few more options like security. Then be made using this security context, remote login, where I have to type in my Postgres and then demo 22, right? And let's click OK. Right now let's come out of our ODBC as well. Now let's right click on the link server test connection. It shows your server is connected. Now that we have managed to link our database, we can work with it by selecting our tables, then doing the queries all through SQL Server Management Studio.